Alright, we're going to put this big Ichigo decal on dry, and we're going to be using a center hinge method because it's kind of big and unruly and the wind is kind of strong today, so do it in sections to make it easier on myself. Start by putting a piece of tape across the middle. Very carefully peel back the backing paper. Definitely have to take my time on this one because there's so many little details that could get ripped up if I go too fast. When you see a piece coming up like that, you just go back down and push it against the transfer tape so it sticks better, and then slowly start pulling again. So you got one right there. Just gonna push down and start pulling again. Got a big piece up here. Okay, now that we're down to our tape line for our hinge, we're gonna cut off the top half of the backing paper very carefully without hitting the paint. Alright, now we'll squeegee from the bottom up, starting at the center with overlapping strokes like that. Piece of cake. Alright, top half is done. Just rinse and repeat on the bottom. Let's pull off our tape hinge on the center. And then carefully pull back the bottom half of the backing paper. This is a pretty wide design, so there's lots of little lines to look at while you're going. If you do something like this, just take your time, you're going to be fine. Watching for little pieces of the design that don't want to stick. When you're doing dry installs, especially in the sun, you want to be very careful not to let this fall down, because if any part of this touches the hot paint on the car, it's gonna stick instantly. No redos. And actually, I see a piece that I didn't weed out properly inside the house. Go ahead and pull that out. Might end up with a little bubble right there, but that's okay. Alright, don't let it touch the car. This is where a second person can come in handy, especially when it's windy, but I got it down pretty good. Start squeegeeing from the center out. Don't pull too hard on the corners or wherever you're holding it, because that'll create tension and you'll end up chasing a bunch of creases and bubbles into the spot where you're pulling too hard. And since it's dry, you don't get a second chance, it will be ruined. Overlapping strokes from the center out. On the WRX, we have a little dip here, so you don't want to run the squeegee horizontally through that, or you'll create a bridge and that vinyl's not going to stick to the car. It's going to be just floating out in the air. So when you get to horizontal dips like that, you want to push nice and hard and work the vinyl down into the dip. And once you work your way all the way through the dip, then you can go back to horizontal overlapping strokes. Alright, working our way out of the dip now. going to use the vertical strokes till I'm all the way out of the dip, and now I am, so I can come back to the middle and resume my horizontal overlapping strokes. Sometimes I like to use vertical strokes right at the end. My hand's getting tired, or a wrist, or whatever. It's not that big of a deal at the finish line. You can do whatever you want because there's no more tension at this point, because we did everything right leading up to this. Okay. We're ready to peel this back. Some of these larger designs, I have to use multiple pieces of transfer tape, so I start peeling with the one that's on top. You really don't need to worry about anything lifting when you pull the transfer tape when it's this hot outside and the paint's nice and heated up too when you put it on dry, because it's pretty much fully cured already. Since this is decal vinyl, not wrap vinyl, we don't have to worry about post heating or any of that stuff. You do want to pay attention where the body panels meet. Sometimes it won't stick instantly or as good as you want to right there until we get it trimmed. I only see a couple little bubbles in all of this, so we did good. You could do this design wet, but you'd have to sit around and wait a while for all the water to evaporate before you could peel off the transfer tape. And with a design that has so many little details like this, you might be waiting a while before you can pull it off safely. But if you have the time, go nuts. I do see another piece that I didn't weed properly on the workbench right here, so I'll just pull that out. Trimming in the sun, it kind of sucks because the vinyl gets really mushy and sometimes it's hard to get a clean cut, but if you have a freshly snapped blade and you take your time, it should be fine. I'm just gonna cut right in the middle there. Yeah, it's pretty gooey, so sometimes I can't start on the edge. I have to start cutting from the center to the edges like this. See if I can get it nice and close. Just poke it through there, go down to the bottom, and then up to the top. Yeah, it's real mushy in the sun. Just take your time. Alright, just open up the door and we're going to roll all these pieces around the edge of the door, just like this. Boom. When you roll it around, that prevents any air from getting trapped, so that will increase durability over time. We lost a little detail there just because of how things ended up lining up with the door. Not a big deal. Just roll everything around with the meat of your finger. Boom. I would be absolutely comfortable driving to the car wash right now and pressure washing this, including the edges. Since it's decal vinyl, we did it dry and we're in the sun. Everything's already heated up and pretty much stuck to the car. I do see one more spot where I missed some weeding. I was in a bit of a hurry because I wanted to make this video before it got too hot outside. I'm going to pull this piece off. And there we go.